A pitching crisis in Major League Baseball? Well, that's what Scott Boras thinks. And Jake Myers, what do we have to look forward to with this hitter that I think will benefit from consistency at the plate and a belief from his manager? Let's talk about this and other things in the Astros world going on right now. Hit that intro, Eric.
Jainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talk Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. You can go ahead and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go and check us out. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. More new customers join today and get $150 in bonus bets. If your first bet of $5 or more wins, visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started today. And go and subscribe to us and then give us a big fat thumbs up. And Brett, where can they find you making all this big pitchers money?
Yeah, I wish I was. If I was, I probably wouldn't be co-host of Locked On Astros. I would be on a major league roster. That would be amazing. But you can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me at Stros411 on X, Instagram, and Facebook, where I'm always positive, always Stros. You know, Eric, there's a lot going on in the Astros spring training world. We've got talk about, we know who isn't going to be on the opening day roster because they've been not cutting players, but sending guys to the minor league fields. Valdez, the revelation of him calling his own pitches. We'll talk about that. Scott Boras maybe panicking a little bit because his pockets aren't getting as fat as they normally are. Jake Myers, I think there's some things to be desired and why I'm going to tell you why I think he's going to have a breakout year. And then Breggy's expected compensation, and I guess kind of in comparison to another star third baseman that happens to be in Boston, Rafael Devers. So that's what we're going to talk about on today's show.
All right. So before we do this, happy retirement to Zach Donaldson. This is
Josh Donaldson.
Josh Donaldson. I don't know why I said Zach, but Josh Donaldson. He is actually one of the with Josh Donaldson retirement. There's only 5 AL players out there who have won the AL MVP who are still playing. Do you know who they are?
Mike Trout.
Yeah, one.
Shohei Ohtani.
No, that's in the American League still.
Oh, that's in the American League still?
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge, 2.
So Trout, Judge, the other MVPs, besides Josh Donaldson.
3 of them are with the Houston Astros right now.
Oh, in the American League, Justin Verlander.
Yes, 3.
Jose Altuve. How did I miss
4.
that? Other Astro that won the MVP?
He didn't win it when he played for the Astros.
Oh, Jose Abreu. Sorry, thank you. Yes,
Jose Abreu.
Ethan got it before I did, actually. Good job, Ethan. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I kept thinking it's not Alex Bregman. He was second behind Trout. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah, Trout actually has 3 MVPs, but Zach Wheeler today signed a 3-year, $126 million extension. Do the math there. That is what? $42 million per year. That's a pretty good for somebody that is, he's not one of those guys that a lot of people thinks of as an ace, a Justin Verlander, a Max Scherzer, but he got some buckets there. And so that's the highest annual salary for any contract extension ever. So congrats to Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, here's the deal with him is he was actually more dependable than Aaron Nola. And Aaron Nola a lot of times was considered by a lot to be that ace.
Right.
But his lack of time on the IL has really helped him. Zach Wheeler is one of the more dependable and one of the more consistent starters in Major League Baseball. And
he got out at New York.
And I think the new formula, right? The new formula, I mean, because DeGrom, all the other guys, Steve Matz, I mean, all those other guys, the formula now going forward for these clubs is short-term, high AAV, where they
Right.
still get the money, but they do it over a shorter time. I don't mind paying a guy $35-40 million over a 3 or 4 year period. I don't mind that. I do mind paying him $800 billion trillion and then deferring the rest of it for 10 years after they're even playing. So that's a problem.
Yeah, so Scott Boras is freaking out right now. He has 2 ace pitchers that don't have a job right now. And he says, in the past week, we've had 4 new teams calling these guys. There is a pitching panic going on right now. We've got so many starting pitchers that are now compromised, maybe short term, some long term, and the calls for elite starters are starting to increase. And so basically, what he's saying is by not signing their starters, these starters, you are compromising their careers. Shame on you, owners, for not giving them all this money.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it all comes down to what makes sense with the dollars. And I mean, these owners continue to flex their power and their prowess in Major League Baseball, and Rob Manfred has positioned them as such. I mean, when you had the Cubs with the losing record or the Brewers with the losing record, they're making between $3 and $5 billion in profit. I mean, it's just insane, or they're worth $3 to $5 billion. It's insane the money that's being thrown around. I am shocked that both Snell and Montgomery are unsigned. I think Snell ends up in San Francisco.
Right.
Montgomery, I would think, would end up in Arlington, but they got money problems. And so I don't see why the Yankees, I know the Yankees probably have money problems. They will in the future, but Montgomery, maybe he works well in somewhere like Kansas City. They have cap room. They got cap room down in Tampa. You know, it would be an interesting move for someone like the Royals to get Montgomery. I think the Orioles have been linked to Montgomery a little bit, but it just makes you wonder where they're going to go and when they're going to go.
That would be a little bit out of the Orioles' comfort zone. They're not used to going out there and getting the big name free agents. And Scott Boras kind of touched on that. He's like, it's like fishing. You go out there and expect the fish, the teams, to be there. And sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. So you have these teams that you expect, like the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers. Well, the Dodgers did spend the money, but they didn't spend. Yeah, so they just didn't spend on his players. Yeah. So, but I think that what he's trying to do is generate some interest and say, hey, look, I've got these other teams that are interested in this guy. If you want Blake Snell, you better make a move because I have somebody, mystery team. He's about to come in and swoop him up for the long term, or short term. And so I just think that this is agent talk. This is just something to kind of get the ball moving a little bit, get the ball in somebody's court. I still don't think he comes to Houston. We heard Dana Brown say that he doesn't envision, he loves Blake Snell, but he just doesn't see anything happening before the trade deadline.
Right.
At the trade deadline, they'll address any type of weaknesses, but they still have the faith in the pitchers they have right now. And so right now, when healthy, we have 8 starters. So we have to get healthy first, but I know, but.
Well, I think we're in a lot better place than the Rangers. At least you don't have like 80 pitchers that are on the IL because they had the like 20th Tommy John surgery. So, I like that. I'm serious, man. I really think the Astros are going to win the West, and I'm wondering, you did a AOS preview.
Yes.
Did you pick the Astros to win the West?
I think pretty much everybody did.
Really? Hold on.
Pretty much everybody.
Even the Rangers guy?
Yeah, he said he said there's a lot of fluctuation. You'll have to watch the podcast, but he said, I see the Rangers winning it, but I can see the Astros also winning it. But Even Ty over at the Locked On Mariners podcast said that he sees the Astros winning this, but he feels like the Mariners can be second. So if you want to watch the entire podcast, you definitely got to check it out when it comes out, because I definitely took a few shots at the Rangers, but I did forget about Julio Rodriguez for my MVP talk. So oops, I forgot about that. So
wow. Oh, Julio. Oh, well, I mean, I think there's a lot of people picking him this year.
Yeah,
he's got to produce at the plate consistently.
Right. Yeah, I know. So that was my bad on that pick right there. So we'll talk about Framber Valdez. He wants to pick his own pitches next year. So we'll talk about that in a second.
All right, that's right. And this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Pick is North America's largest fantasy sports platform. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And the app has a fun new feature called Demons and Goblins. Demon picks are marked in red, and they are the scary picks that accelerate your heartbeat, because you can win big money, as in 100 times your money. So if you bet $10, you can win $1,000. But if you are more cautious, you could always choose a Goblin pick marked green, because it is designed to keep you in the green and allow you to land consistent victories. The payout is less than a Demon pick, but your chances of keeping your winning streaks are going to be higher. If you're into the NBA, you can pick more than and less than on anything ranging from 3-pointers to turnovers. Tonight, I've got a couple picks, and I went in and I have got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at going more than 24.5 points. It's actually it's got the green guy on there. It's got the Goblin. And then I've got LeBron James with more than 1.5 3 points made. And if I win, I get money back. So download the app today and enter the code Locked On MLB for your first deposit match of up to $100. Again, that's Locked On MLB, and all one word, all lowercase letters. Get the first deposit match of $100. Join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. Wherever you listen to podcasts, go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. But go and check out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first ever 24/7 streaming channel out there. And now it's available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. So Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering all the top stories of the day with all the local experts. So go and find Locked On Sports Today, now available on free Fire TV channels app. All right. So speaking of calling your picks and everything, so we need to talk about what Framber Valdez wants to do. So something that Kendall Graveman did when he came back from the White Sox is, the catchers would have a pitch comm. The pitch comm would go to the pitchers' hats, and they would be able to hear what the catchers are saying. So if they want a fastball, they'll hear a certain signal. If they want a curveball, they'll hear another signal. So what Kendall Graveman did was he had one that was in his belt. So if he wanted to throw a certain pitch, he would go ahead and touch that button, and then it would send a signal to the catcher, and the catcher would hear what he wants to do, and then he would be like, no, I want this one. So you have some back and forth communication with the pitch comm. So that's something that Graveman was doing, and other teams are doing this. It's not necessary to stop cheating. It's just to kind of avoid this whole shaking off and everything that you've seen.
So there was a neat feature that I noticed at the College Baseball Classic. Vanderbilt all use them. I don't know if all the teams use them. I think Texas State did. They have these watches, okay? And instead of the third base coach sending signals to them, they have watches, and the watch is for the position players to know what pitch is being thrown and then what defense to run. It's like a strategy watch. And so the right fielder will know to shift to the left or the right, the infielders, because they still do infield shifts. And that's kind of a neat thing that they have. I was like, wait, those watches look a lot like Apple Watches. I was taken back, but this is like the second year that Vanderbilt's used them. UT has been using them, and they've actually gotten positive results from them.
Yes. So what Valdez said he wants to do is this is something that Josh Hader has done. And he's actually worn the PitchCon, and this is something that he's done with San Diego. I think he did it when he was with the Brewers as well. So this is just something where he can communicate and what pitch he wants to throw and have some insight. And so this is what Valdez said. I want to feel more comfortable. Not that I don't feel comfortable with the catchers, but I want to feel comfortable and throw the pitchers with more conviction, feel like I have the game in my hands. And so he's already talked to both catchers. He said, hey, this is nothing against you. This is not me saying, oh, I think Yainer Diaz is a terrible catcher. I think that Caratini doesn't know how to call a game. This is just me wanting to have something. And he said, I didn't use PitchCom last year because I didn't feel super comfortable using it. Not really to do with the catchers. Now I feel a little bit more comfortable using it. I just want to call my own pitches.
Well, Framber's biggest issue is between his ears. It has nothing to do with this talent. We know what he can do. I mean, from throwing the no-hitter to throwing a game-clinching World Series, only giving up one run to the Phillies, who really had a powerful offense and really could have changed the course of the entire series had they got a few runs on the board. So Framber, I am okay with him exercising this, and he has earned that right as a veteran. The thing is, though, the onus is now on him. So now if things go south, you can't look to who is the backstop or who's not the backstop, but who's on the mound.
Right.
But for someone like this, if he takes ownership of it and it jettisons him and it moves him forward to a greater place than where he's been, I say, let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, I think it's excellent. It's definitely different. It's not the norm, but you've got to coach every player differently that matches their personality style, I think. And that's the only way you can really be successful. But that's why I like someone like Joe Espada. I don't think Dusty Baker would allow this, or Dusty Baker might have something to say about it. Joe Espada's like, all right, big fella, go out there and do it,
Yeah, I think somebody that deals with their emotions when they're on the mound, I think this will give them a chance to settle down. He says, I don't want to waste my time shaking when I could waste my time holding runners on or do different things that are going to be more beneficial to me. I like to get the ball back and already have my pitch selection going. If I'm walking back to the mound and I don't like it, I'll be able to hurry up and hit it, and then we're back on the same page quicker, with a quicker game pace. So basically, he just wants to be more rapid pace, and especially with the pitch clock going down, especially with runners on base this year, that's something a lot of pitchers are going to have to adjust to. But runners stealing last year was a big issue, like the pitchers holding on runners. So that's something that Joe Espada said that he's gonna address. And one of the biggest culprits was Hunter Brown, and Hunter Brown is making the adjustments this year. He's trying to make a quicker move to first base and try to adjust to that because runners were running a lot on him.
No, and that's one of the emphasis is not just offensively on the bases, but Joe Espada said that early on one of the episodes where I had some sound from the Astros is that is a point of emphasis. Basically they felt like because of that and because of base running, they missed some games that they could have won. And maybe this, Eric, would have kept some of the offenses off the base paths as well. And those home games, because they didn't always get their butts kicked at home, right? They got beat by 1-2 runs a lot of times, and that really, really could have changed things. So we're going to continue to hear this narrative going into the season. It's going to be interesting to see the first home series. You and I are both going to opening day is against the New York Yankees, and Garrett Cole takes the mound for game one. I think that's going to be a really fun series.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to have two MVP candidates in Alvarez and Judge or Soto, whoever you're looking at. And one of those guys is likely going to win MVP this year. So, speaking of making the changes, I know we kind of adjusted. We already talked about it, but Christian Javier definitely dropped some weight. But it wasn't just him. He had some help over the winter. So we'll talk about that in a second. And then you wanted to talk a little bit about somebody that you think is going to have a great season, and Jake Myers, and then Alex Bregman. What did the Athletic predict that his extension could look like? Could the Astros afford that? Do you buy or sell that number? We'll talk about that in a little bit.
That's right. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. I don't want to tell you about them today. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet at FanDuel.com/locked on. Get buckets with your first bet with FanDuel, because right now, again, look, I'm going to say it more than once because it needs to be said and it needs to be heard. $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. I'm not lying. I'm not making this up. This is them telling you, sign up today. Bet on all your favorite NBA players like Alperen Şengün, or if it's Nikolai Jokic, or if it's Donovan Mitchell. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, if you are let's see, let me just throw out a random Kawhi Leonard guy, go out there and get quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked on and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. But go and check out Locked On Sports Day. It's the first ever 24/7 streaming channel out there on YouTube. It's got all the sports you need to know right when you need to know it. And it's with baseball season going, there's gonna be a lot of baseball content out there. Hopefully it's not gonna be focused solely on what Shohei Ohtani is doing that day, but we know there's gonna be a lot of focus on him. But go and check out Locked On Sports Day, which you can now find on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. So go and check out Locked On Sports Day and for everything that you need to know. So, Brett, let's go ahead and quickly talk about Christian Javier. I know that we focused on what he did. He lost the 15 pounds and he did all the work, but also Josh Miller went over there to the Dominican Republic, and Bill Murphy went over to Dominican Republic and worked with him this offseason. And what they realized that he was doing was he was a little too tense last year. He was not having the same movement on his pitches. And so what Murphy said was it was something that myself and pitching coach Josh Miller worked on with him at the tail end of last year. He was trying to throw the ball too hard, too early in his delivery. And basically what was causing it was he was kind of yanking out and cutting the ball instead of naturally throwing it and trusting his delivery and his mechanics. But we were just trying to get him to throw it, relax. He's El Reptile for a reason. We were just hoping to kind of hone in on that. So we saw him pitch much better. This was his first start the last time. He pitched 3 innings because he hasn't pitched in a game yet. So we know that he looks pretty good. So they need to get the same guy that he was in 2022 because he's a big key to the Astros' success.
Yeah, exactly. And, but Bill Murphy going to the Dominican, it's good to note that this is an annual trip he makes. So
right.
whether Javier was struggling or not, he would have gone over there because he usually goes over there to the academy to work with their young prospects. And that's typically what most of these pitching coaches do. But obviously, it was a point of emphasis when he got there. Javier, I think, stands to have probably one of the better years. I think him and Brown are going to have really good years on the mound. And Javier's focus, he made that big contract for, Framber hasn't been extended. I don't think they're going to extend him. I don't think they're going to sign him long term. I think they're going to either cut ties with him or trade him at some point. Right. But Javier, to me, has staying power. I just think Javier has a higher ceiling on a longer plane. I don't know. I know that Javier and Valdez to me are two different kinds of pitchers, but if Javier can keep it locked in and he can be consistent, that the results that this guy can give you are going to be crazy, crazy good for the next several years, especially since we do have him under that pretty sizable contract.
Yes. So before we get to Bregman's extension, what the Athletic is predicting, go ahead and talk a little bit about Jake Myers. Why do you think he's going to have a breakout season?
So I was speaking with a friend of mine, and she's actually on the broadcast tonight. We were talking back and forth, and I've been thinking this for a little bit because I remember the Jake Myers I interviewed when they were the Sugarland Skeeters. I remember the Jake Myers when he got called up, and I know some of y'all are probably going to roast me over this, but a lot of what he's gone through, I was talking with this friend, and she had mentioned that, look, this is a mental thing with him. He was not given the opportunity. He was given the starting role, and then he got played maybe once a week. He had this, get this, he had the second highest WRC plus going into June, only behind Jordan. Okay. And so here's the deal. And here's my whole case. And here was my friend's case. And what she was saying is that when you put someone like him in a position where he's starting every single day and you give him consistent at bats, the confidence grows. But if you play him once a week because you're trying to get Dubon in there, you're trying to get Chaz in there, there's no confidence. There's nothing to build off of. Number one, you don't have routine. Number one, you don't have the mentality. And so it is something to where, think about it. He doesn't he's given the job, but everyone I talk to isn't expecting Jake Myers to do anything. I don't think there's a ton of pressure on him. He may be the only person that puts pressure on himself, but I think if you look at a small sample size and you look at what he's done even this year in spring training, in 5 games, 9 at bats, 3 runs, 4 hits, 7 total bases, 3 doubles, 2 RBI, 4 walks, okay, an OPS of 1.393, a slugging percentage of 778, and an on-base percentage of 615, batting 444. Now, before you tell me it's spring training, and before someone, not you, but before someone tells me, well, why are you taking a small sample size from spring training? I sure hear a lot of people bragging about Juan Soto in his first 6 at-bats hitting 3 home runs. So here's my point. If Juan Soto's significant first 6 at-bats are so amazing and so awesome, then why is Jake Myers 444 not amazing and awesome as well? I think at the end of the day, Jake Myers may be the guy that I'm calling to have a breakout year offensively for the Houston Astros. Maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm right, y'all need to come back and pat me on the back. And my friend Jules here too as well.
All right. Don't forget Yogi Berra's quote. He said, baseball is 90% mental. The other half is physical. So
I love Yogi Berra. He was great.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a big mentality to the game. Like, if you don't trust your ability, it doesn't matter if you have that ability or not. And Jake Myers has that ability. He just hasn't been given the faith in the past to really explore that. So I think that's what the Astros are doing right now. And we'll see if can he stay healthy? Can he produce? And if he can, I think that's
right. But see, hold on. Stay healthy indicates that he's an injury problem. He ran into the wall and broke his shoulder, basically. I wouldn't say stay healthy. I would just say he just needs to be consistent because health isn't an issue. To me, the term stay healthy, you know who it fits? Mike Trout. That's who it fits.
Right.
Because he can't stay healthy.
He'd be legendary if he could just stay healthy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. He still is legendary. The stuff he does is crazy. I mean, he's a really good ball player.
Speaking of legendary, we got Rafael Devers. He's probably going to go down as one of the best third basemen in history, maybe at least in Boston area. But he's pretty good. So he is still young, but right now, a lot of people, especially the Athletic, are comparing Alex Bregman's next contract to a little bit what Devers got. Okay. So if you're looking at what Devers got, Devers got a deal that was about $30 million per season. So if you're going to do that for Bregman, it's going to have to be maybe a 7-year deal, $210 million deal. So if that's kind of looking at the comparison to Rafael Devers deal. So
yeah, and so I think Bregman may see, and I think someone's going to go over that, Eric, because here's what's going to happen. Matt Chapman is gone.
right.
The full-time Gold Glove, American League Gold Glove third baseman is gone. He's in the National League. Alex Bregman's going to be either in the MVP candidacy or win the MVP this year. He's going to win a Gold Glove. He's going to have a banner year. And if he has a banner year, I think that 210 is undershooting what I think a club is going to be willing to give him because he is dependable. This guy has proven his viability and his worth, not just in the regular season, but in the postseason as well.
So I keep in mind, this is an extension, not when he reaches free agency. A free agency is a whole different ballgame.
Right.
So if he reaches free agencies, the Astros are going to have to compete with big boys, and big boys are going to be willing to pay a lot more money.
Yeah, and I don't see them doing an extension with Bregman, to be honest. All
right. So I think that if you're looking at the numbers, that's kind of why I've been saying 7 years, about 30 million per year. So I would say that would be good as an extension. If you're looking for, we know Dana Brown wants to make that offer. I think that would not be an insulting offer to make to Alex Bregman. Now, would Jim Crane do it? And would Alex Bregman accept it, or would he want to get more during free agency? That's yet to be seen. So we know that Scott Boras is the agent, and we know that he says it's like fishing. It's okay to wait. And so he may wait this out. So
trust the process.
Yeah, that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey. We are the Locked On Astros podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to us. Make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go and check us out. And make sure you go ahead and subscribe to us. And tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be talking about the Astros playing ball again. No rainouts. And we'll see what happens in tomorrow games. And go Stros. Bye.
Thank you, iOS.
Weird, Brett.